Was having an email conversation with someone about a concept I'd brought up in another meeting about this psychological term, cognitive fusion, and its antithesis, you could say, of cognitive diffusion. And I just wanted to touch on that and focus in on one thing in particular. Um, this term cognitive fusion is basically means that we we have all these ideas, all these ideas about what's going on with ourselves, that we even are a self, that we're a self existing in a world, a complex world with a lot of things happening and um, geopolitical things, local politics, our relationships, our work. And then within each one of those seemingly describable worlds that we imagine are actually what's happening, there's all this additional complexity, right? All the subtle nuances in the ways we think about things and wonder about things and worry about things and perseverate about things and imagine things or fear things or um, I mean it's really pretty endless, isn't it? The ways in which the elaborations about what's here it's incredible to just let yourself consider that for a moment, right? And it's just this, at least in my experience, this sort of ongoing, relentless describing of the world. Not just the initial description of what it seems to be, which you could say is kind of, you know, the initial kind of identification of the patterns that we call phenomena, our subjective states, the seemingly objective world, right? We have our initial notions about those things as this is what it is. And then the elaborations on top of those initial labels, right? Like, I like this, I don't like this, why is this happening to me? When will it stop? Or I want more of this is amazing, and on and goes. And something really incredible, the idea of fusion is that we actually believe that all of those ideas we have about what's happening are true. They're true in the sense that reality is what I think it is. Like, I exist as a human being living in a world, as maybe the most basic assumption. But it goes beyond that, as I said, because there's a lot of complexity and elaboration about this individual and all the things this individual is involved in, including hosting a Zoom meeting right now. So we really kind of pretty much take for granted that that's the world that we exist in, is what I call the seemingly describable world. It seems like we can describe it. The question is, can we? Is there something here, um, something showing up that is in fact resolvable as being something describable, right? Like, here it is, and now I've described it. That makes logical sense. Like, something appears, I recognize what it is, the consciousness recognizes it, and then it tacks a label on it. That's what it is. Not only does it tack the label on, it's got all sorts of additional ideas often about that thing, right? Do I like it? Do I not like it? As I was saying, and so on. But you see how all of that rests upon this fundamental assumption that what's appearing has a kind of stasis to it, that it endures long enough to be able to identify it. I mean, honestly, what percent of the world believes that to be true? It's very high. We take it for granted that there's an enduring nature to phenomena. Not necessarily that we're thinking that way so much, but it's just woven into the very fabric of our day-to-day lives, is that is the case. And I can talk about those enduring phenomena, including my states of mind, like as something that's there that I can grasp hold of with consciousness and determine what it is, right? And then have a whole conversation with myself or other people about it. Now, before I jump to cognitive diffusion, which is the discovery that reality is not what we think it is, like in a profound way, in a profound kind of shocking way, given our assumptions. Let me just say that there is no question that the world shows up as patterned, as these incredibly elaborate structures, and right, it really does. I mean, it looks like something. It doesn't look incoherent. It doesn't look patternless. It looks like something. You all look like whatever you look like. The world appears, all of the natural world, our internal world. It's incredible. The magical display, as it's sometimes called, is it's magical in many ways that I often talk about. Um, so I think what can trip us up in this exploration of this other perspective, um, that reveals reality is not identifiable, ultimately, is that it really does appear to be that way, right? It's like there's no question. If it appeared, but the appearances were so flimsy in a sense, like you could just like immediately just see like, oh my God, like that's not really there. It just kind of looks like it's there. But no, it doesn't just kind of look like it's there. It like really looks like something's here, doesn't it? Wow, this feels really concrete. And it is. It's concretely there. Our experience is concretely present. The world is concretely here in experience, right? And our sense of being someone existing in that world is here concretely in a sense as experience. Shows up that way. But what I'd like to invite you to do right now, which I've done many times before, is to just look at your experience right now. You could say look at it. I could say feel it. I treat those the same way. However you want to say perceive this moment, which is, of course, you're always just perceiving this moment, but be with it in real time, which is in the instant. Okay. This instant. Feel this instant. Notice this instant. And ask yourself this question experientially. Explore this question. Exactly how long is this perception here for? Can you feel the way in which it is gone before you can even go to look for it, in a sense? Like, here it is. The moment is here. But if you try to grasp hold of the moment, sort of hold it in place long enough to see it and notice how you just simply can't do it. It's like constantly moving away from you. It would be one way to put it, sort of. It's impossible to put it anyway. It's so weird. Again, forget about all the ideas you have for a moment about how there's enduring things and there's a world, but just be with your experience right now. Exactly how long does this thing called the instant last? Is it actually here for any time that you can find? Without introducing some sort of carryover from like if I were to kind of try to slow this process down for a moment. So like here's the moment, but you see like let's see if I can try to describe it. I can't, but I'm going to try. Here's the second hand. Let's say it's a second hand ticking, like an old clock. Tick, 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 tick. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. It's ticking, right? So here's now, and then it ticks, right? It's like now is like now, this instant. And then, okay, well, and then it ticks, right? The clock ticks. It's not going to, how long does it hang out here for a while before it ticks? You see what I mean? It's tick, 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 tick. Is it hanging out? If you think about the numbers on the clock, is it going like one, two, if these were seconds, one, two, three, four, five, six, like, do you see what I mean? Like, feel the moment. It is here for no time. It doesn't stop ticking. That's its dynamism. That's what we're feeling right now. In a way, we're not feeling any, we're feeling something. This is the paradox of what I'm talking about. We can feel the presence of experience, like here is the moment, but it is simultaneously ungraspable as something that you can grab hold of because it is here for no time. And you're feeling that right now. Feel how ungraspable your perception is, how you cannot grab hold of it with your mind, with your hands, with anything, with your descriptions. It has gone so quickly as to literally be here for no time. It's transforming, 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 but it never becomes something that transforms. That's what's so weird. You see, because for it to become something that then that transforms, that's like the second hand going tick, tick. And when it lands on wherever it lands, like what we call now, it's on the way to becoming something else, isn't it? So it's more like this. The second hand, that's just a convenience of mechanical clocks that they go tick like they're stopping and then tick, you know. But imagine if you make that really small, like it's not just a second, but it's half a second, then it's a quarter of a second. So imagine it's ticking that smally. How small could you get? A tenth of a second, a thousandth of a second. So imagine the ticks being 1,000th of a second long. How about 1 millionth of a second long? You could break it down, right? Feel what I'm saying rather than just think about it. Like feel exactly how long this instant is here for. It's here for no time unless we introduce something called what was here 1 millionth of a second ago or 1 billionth of a second ago. And hold that in memory. This is what consciousness kind of seems to do. It holds it in memory. So what? It creates this sense of the continuity of reality. Like we have this sense of something called a Zoom call that's been stretched out over the last 15 minutes, right? It's very odd because we're only ever experiencing this flash instant, right? But woven into that flash instant is this thing called memory, which is how I guess you can understand something called a sentence. The point in all of this is to feel the way in which the strange reality of experiencing having no time, being here for no time. The moment, what we call the moment, never becomes something that we could call a moment. That's concretely, I've just put a boundary around here. Here it is. I call it the moment. It's got a beginning and an end, right? You feel that? So here we have all these complicated narratives, and the entire thing that we're narrating is not here. You see that? It's not here. You cannot narrate what's here because it slips away way before a narration that tries to capture it could ever hope to capture it. It's gone. Which is why you don't have to get rid of your thoughts to see this. You can just see that the reality transcends everything we conceive of it to be. By its very nature, by its very dynamic nature, it transcends every notion that we have. All of our notions are incorrect in that sense because they're effectively, the notions are making an argument that there's something there that you can identify. But we really can't. Seems like we can. That's the mirage. That's the dreamlike nature of reality. It definitely shows up as something. And we can play within that realm of how it seems to be descriptively. I can talk about life and the way it seems to be and what my life seems to be like and what I seem to be doing. I can engage in that, and it has its own kind of, that's the world of form, essentially. If it was only this ungraspable moment that's here for no time, there would be no sitting here having the experience of sitting on a Zoom call. That wouldn't exist. But that this does exist, this moment of sitting on a Zoom call together. It exists as experience in one sense. At the same time, it's nothing. It's absolute nothing in the sense of not a thing. It just so happens that this not a thing looks like the most incredible, unfathomably rich experience of life. How wild is that? And it's literally what we're experiencing. We're experiencing both in a sense. But let's just say we lean as a rule as humans way on the side of believing all of our ideas to be true and very little sort of recognition and appreciation of this other, uh, of the ungraspable nature of this. And this reality, just to say this last thing, is feel in its here for no timeness, its non-durational nature, its unenduring nature, how free it is, how open-ended it is, never, ever, ever, ever able to be collapsed into some frame of reference. It's that free. It is that transcendental, not trapped in anything, not caught in anything, not none of that. And you can discover what I'm saying by simply feeling your experience and noticing what I just said, which is, wow, I can't hold this in place. As the second hand is clicking to return to that metaphor, I just can't get it to stop at 12 or whatever ever moment. And yet, this timelessness, you could say, shines forth as the flow of time. This formlessness appears as all the forms, the myriad forms, the 10,000 things. That's the emptiness dancing as form. and the forms are all empty, and the emptiness always appears as something. It's amazing. It's beautiful somehow to me. It's just incredible. I mean, truly incredible. And it's not abstract. It's very much what's happening.